Okay. Let's bring in our political panel to jump on some of these big issues today. Joining me now with only 6 sleeps left until polling day is New South Wales Liberal Senator Holly Hughes and Labor legend Graham Richardson. Team, welcome.
Hello. Good evening,
Hi.
Richo.
How are you, Chris?
Good to have you. I'm very well, Richo, thank you. You look great, which is great. Let's start with Scott Morrison's mea culpa. Probably 3 days of mea culpa. The PM said late last week he can and needs to change if re-elected. Today, as we just saw, he admitted to not getting everything right, but he had a quote, poured his heart and soul into his job every single day. Richo, will the mob forgive him for not getting everything right over the past 2 enormous years?
I think most Liberal supporters will. There's never been a politician who got everything right, not since me anyway. So I think
You are quick tonight.
Yeah, I'm in good form, mate. But I mean, quite seriously, I think that you forget about Morrison trying to grandstand. He doesn't do that sort of thing. He's a quite humble man. As you know, he's a friend of mine. I've known him a long time from before he went into politics. And I'm a great fan of his. I don't support him politically, but I think he's a terrific bloke and I always wish him well. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that in this guy's character that would ever prevent him from taking our top job. I think he's a fine, upstanding Australian, as is Anthony. And so we've got a contest between 2 people, both well and truly worthy of the mantle of Australia's Prime Minister.
OK, we'll get to your bloke in a second. I get the feeling that there were some Prime Ministers in our history that would not have coped anywhere near the way Scott Morrison coped this last 2.5 years.
Oh, and Scott's been absolutely extraordinary when you think of the way he's brought the country through. He's also been on top of the issues, and that's been incredibly important, I think we've seen through this campaign. Perhaps not every political leader has been across all of the issues and up to date on the details. But Scott has been across the details and he's got up to speed very, very quickly. And when they were confronted, he and Josh, with a possible 15% unemployment rate, they got to work very, very quickly and put in place plans that have ensured Australia not only weathered the COVID pandemic economically well, but that our recovery has been so substantial and so fast, which has been reflected in the lowest unemployment rates, even lower than we are, we're lower now than we were pre-pandemic. And Scotty's across the detail, and you're right, we have seen other Prime Ministers, and I wouldn't dare to name a few, but a couple in the recent history whose skin may not be as thick and whose jaws may not be made of the same sort of stuff.
That's my point, exactly. Now, Richo, my colleague here at Sky News, Peter Credden, wrote today that the Morrison government has indeed been a rank disappointment to its strongest natural supporters. But for her, it's about doing the right thing by our country and future generations. And if that's the question, she writes, then the answer is Liberal. Richo, will the undecided revert back to the devil they know?
Well, we are yet to find out, but I think enough of them will switch to Anthony, and I still believe Labor will win and win with a little to spare. I don't believe there'll be a hung parliament. I think Anthony will govern in his own right. I think it's been looking that way for a long time, and as people stay with a decision for month after month after month, then it becomes much harder to walk them back. And so I think Anthony's going to win, and I think that we don't pop champagne and corks in the Labor Party. We just have a beer, but there'll be plenty of the amber ale will be around.
What about the Chardonnay? Come on.
No, mate. That's a past the Labor Party. That was Neville. Right? I never touched the stuff myself.
All right, Holly, we learned over the weekend that the US wanted Labor to be included in negotiations around the AUKUS agreement. Now, they were involved, but at arm's length. Was this a political decision by Scott Morrison because we were so close to a federal election?
Well, I think what we have seen in the past week with Richard Marles and his 10 meetings with the Chinese ambassador, that perhaps there needed to be some caution around who was being told what, because we wouldn't want Mr Marles to make sure that his Chinese counterparts were up to speed with what we were planning to do within national security. I think there are questions to be answered by Mr Marles, why he has met with the Chinese ambassadors and embassy staff at least 5 to 10 times more than both Maurice Payne as Foreign Minister and his colleague, Penny Wong, who is the Shadow Foreign Affairs spokesperson. So I think with Mr Miles is involved, everyone needs to be careful.
Or was he just very big on Chinese food like you are, Richo?
Yeah, it must be it. That must be it, mate.
Yeah.
Bit of sanctuary bow?
Well, you can't walk past a spring roll. It's just sinful.
Mate, I'm with you. We finally found something we can agree on.
I want to
Richo.
come back to where I began tonight, the decision by Labor to parachute in 2 out-of-towners, Fowler and also Parramatta. Richo, hasn't the electorate woken up to that, or do the parties think we can pull the wool over their eyes continually?
Yeah, look, it's interesting, Chris. If you look at the Victorian parties, both of them, Labor and Liberal, it's not unusual at all for people to be put in seats that are 30 k's from their home. But here in New South Wales, on both sides of the aisle, we have usually given it to locals. In the Labor Party's case, you've had local pre-selections, which means the person with the most number of aunties and uncles is going to win, and win pretty well all the time. So we're used to it. And I think it hasn't served us too badly. I mean, there are times when you think maybe a seat got wasted here or there. But by and large, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
We're going to find out in about 6 days' time. I want to move on to one last thing. Wasn't it Richo, Holly, who told us that we wouldn't see Kevin Rudd for dust? Now, I saw him today.
Let's cast our mind
with
back,
the
shall we?
lips and that voice, giving it to ScoMo.
Yeah, well, I understand. You know, you and I have memories, unlike a lot of our Labor colleagues and friends that we know, that last longer than the goldfish. And I do vaguely remember Richo just a couple of weeks ago being quite critical if Albo had to stoop to the level of bringing Rudd onto the campaign, that it was going to be nothing but negative for him.
Do we have the audio?
And now he is the Messiah.
Or has Richo
No,
removed...
he's not. That's ridiculous.
Did you see him today? I'll tell you, I mean, you know, after his efforts with the flight attendant, I felt like doing the same to the television.
Well, why was he there? Of all
I
weeks,
know is that you can never stop Kevin, because Kevin loves the limelight and charges into it whenever he can. But that having been said, gee, Holly, he's had a very minor role in this campaign.
Every time I turn around, there he is.
Hardly
Look at him
been cited
making
until
the
the last
speeches.
couple of days.
All right, this time next weekend, we'll probably know exactly who is in government. Richo, Labor by how much?
8 to 10 seats majority.
8 to 10 seats. Can you believe this?
Whatever Richo's drinking, I want some of that. I think you are completely off the mark, Richo. I don't listen to national polls. I'll tell you, I use a little bit more of a mathematical approach, go on that Mackerras pendulum seat by seat. Looking at some of those polls, they are saying ridiculous seats of ours are going to be lost that are not going to be lost. I've been out in seats that I absolutely believe we are going to pick up. I cannot get Labor to 76 seats. So I think we could be looking at Miracle 2.0 here.
Ooh, no, I don't think we need you to get Labor to the number of seats of 76.
Well, it's not Albo, I can tell you. He doesn't know what the unemployment rate is.
And they'll do it with a smile, Holly.
It's all right. Maybe Albo will remember the unemployment rate when he's one of them.
We keep raising this, Richo. Hey, Richo, leave it with you. Thank you very much. I can see why you've got skip in your step. Closer to polling day, you cock a hoop. Be careful of arrogance.
Mate, never would I be accused of being arrogant. Never. Never.
Have a good week. Thank you, Holly.
Very welcome, Chris. Have a good night, Richo.
Richo and also Liberal Senator for New South Wales, Holly Hughes.